So sometimes how do we miss the devil?
We are. Or if he lives through us.
Yeah. Say we're looking out there, and we're like, I don't see any devils. That's because the devil's like hanging out right here underneath your nose, and you can't see him because he's so close to you. I was talking last period about the monsters in the closet, if you remember these from the first semester. And that very well might be what we're talking about when we talk about the devil. That the monster in the closet is the thing that when you're a little kid, you're afraid of seeing in yourself. And so you avoid going in the closet, you avoid looking at it, you just kind of shut your eyes to it. Maybe as we get older, the monster that's in the closet gets refined. And we no longer see it as a monster, but we see it as a devil. We even give it some more shape, we give it some more form. We start talking in maybe more sophisticated language like evil and good, right and wrong. We start to attribute it, when we're little kids, we don't attribute world events to the monster in our closet. We don't say, oh, that war in Ukraine, that's the monster in my closet. But as we get older, we do. We say, well, actually, it's the devil. The devil's at play here. The devil's working. And so we talk about the devil and what it is that the devil does. We're saying the devil can kind of like tempt us. That old adage of like the devil on your shoulder, and the angel on the other shoulder. And they're talking to you, and which one's going to win out. It's a really interesting motif. Any curiosity? Any of you guys Star Wars fans? Anybody? Okay. There's a scene from the last one, well, the last of the sequel trilogy, where it's become a meme, where the bad guy is telling this guy, Anakin Skywalker, to murder somebody. And he's just telling him, do it. You know, this really evil voice. And his name is Darth Sidious. Sidious to be insidious means to be evil. And it's a great scene, if any of you guys ever watch it, where he's defeated this other bad guy, and he's cut his hands off, and the guy is completely like helpless. And he's got the guy's lightsaber, and he has his own lightsaber. So he's got a red one, which, by the way, represents evil. And he's got the blue one, which represents the good, the Jedi. And he's got both of these things like cross-bladed against the guy's neck. And you can see this cross-section of where he's standing between good and evil. And he looks over, and his master, Obi-Wan, who's like his voice of reason, the good voice in him, who's always trying to get him to go towards the good, the light parts, is unconscious. He's been knocked out during the battle. And the guy who they came to rescue, who's wearing a mask, he's actually the real bad guy. He's telling him, kill him. He's too dangerous to be kept alive. And Anakin's standing there, and he's just like, that's not the right thing to do. That's not the Jedi way. I should bring him back to face justice, to stand trial. And the bad guy, Sidious, who's the who's the devil on his shoulder, because remember, the angel is unconscious in the corner. He tells him, do it. So he just cuts the guy's head off. He gives in to the evil. When that happens, it's no longer blue and red. He's just red blade, which means he's going to be a bad guy. But right before that, there's this image, fantastic, of standing at the crossroads between the two. Did Darth Sidious, as I just told you the story, did Darth Sidious like take control of his hand and make him kill the guy? No, and this is a way that we can think of the devil. The devil doesn't come along and say, come on, we're gonna go rob a liquor store. But the devil will remind you maybe, you're broke, huh? Man, that sucks, because that liquor store's got all kinds of money in it. The devil will just say things, just drop little hints here and there, and then let your mind do the rest of it. They'll drop poison in your ear. Did we talk about Hamlet in this class last time? Yeah, and that's how Claudius dies. They're dripping poison in his ear. And that's just enough most of the time. That's just enough to get you to do the wrong thing. And it isn't so much that the devil makes us do anything. And we'll say that, well, the devil made me do it. The devil doesn't make you do anything. The devil just presents the things that you want to do, but you shouldn't. Like murder, that's the extreme example there. Steal, lie, cheat, manipulate, pour poison in people's ears. And so those are all temptations. But understand that you wouldn't be tempted if it wasn't already inside of you for it to be something that you want to do. Like I've used that example before, that if you came in here and you gave me like a plate that was just piled high with dog shit, and you gave me a fork and said, all right, Scanlon, don't eat that. I'm not tempted to eat that. That is no test of my temptation. Like, dude, you got it. And you push that thing as far away from you as possible. If there's something that you have no interest in doing, you're not going to be tempted in that area. The temptation has to be something that you already have kind of like an inclination to do. And this is one of the things that stands out to me about Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi. He's like, oh, love, peace, and passive resistance. The guy used to actually, before I get to Gandhi, I will explain this. What does a test do then? Because if I say tomorrow you have a test, are any of you guys like wanting to come here and do it, but you shouldn't? It's like, he wants us to fill in A, B, C, and D, but I don't want to. Is that what's going on? Someone could just say no or yes. Maybe. So what does a test do then? What's the purpose of the test? No wonder we suck at tests. We don't know the purposes of tests.
It's technology.
To verify what you know. We think of a test as being like, I'm going to test you because I want to find out what's wrong. No, tests aren't designed to find out what's wrong. Tests are designed to strengthen you. Because if you're a good student, and I tell you, okay, tomorrow we have a test on the first page of Proofrock. If you're a good student, you're a wise student, what would you do tonight? Study it. You would study it. You want to make sure that you know it, because tomorrow you're going to be tested on it. By studying it, and by having a little bit of pressure put on you about it, you actually will remember it better. You'll become more familiar with it. You'll start reading more about it, trying to understand it better. You wouldn't just memorize it. You would seek to understand it. That would strengthen you. The purpose of tests are to strengthen you. The purpose of the temptation is to attack your weaknesses. And this is why it is that the devil tempts you. The devil doesn't test you. The devil doesn't seek to make you stronger. The devil will tempt you, because those are the areas that you're most likely to fall in. And this is why I said, if you ever say to someone, I would never fill in the blank with something, I would never steal, get ready. Get ready, because there's a good chance that you're going to be tempted soon with the opportunity to steal, and to steal something you really want, or to steal something that will be very easy to get away with. A test, on the other hand, would be things like difficulties, hardships, challenges, things that in life that you can overcome. Those aren't things that you want to do but shouldn't, which, by the way, is a pretty good definition for a temptation. But instead, it's to test you, it's to make you stronger, to build you up, so that you can overcome this challenge now, and then that challenge later, and then that challenge later, and eventually become so strong that you have the confidence to stand up to any challenge. So the purpose of a test is to strengthen you. So going back to Gandhi used to sleep naked in beds with children, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. And he said that he would do this as a way of testing himself. Going back to the pile of dog shit on my plate analysis. If I don't have an interest in eating dog crap, that is not a temptation to me. If sleeping in a bed like that with children is a temptation to him, that tells you it's not really a test. It's more of a temptation, which tells you a lot about Gandhi that you did not know 5 minutes ago. So be careful with certain figures, because we tend to revere that guy, and there are other ones too. They're really not great people. Really not. Gandhi's one of those guys. So you can only be tempted in the areas that you're weak, and the reason that you're weak is because of that first word, want, the thing that you want to do. So the loveliest trick of the devil is to persuade you he doesn't exist. Why? Because if he doesn't exist, you don't feel like it's this. You don't realize it's a temptation. Because as soon as all the alarm bells in your head go off and go, oh, this is a temptation, then you know to be on alert and to run away from it. But if you don't realize it's a temptation, if you think it's just an opportunity, well then yeah, you'll indulge in it. That could be anything, not necessarily murder, but perhaps it could be lying, it could be cheating, it could be stealing, it could be manipulating, it could be all kinds of things. And if you don't think that the devil is real, then that means that you're not going to be on guard against him. And so yeah, it's an easy thing so it's a better thing maybe to convince the world that, I don't exist. Because if the devil doesn't exist, it's much easier to get us to fall to temptation. Now you're going to notice I wrote devil, and I also put devil in quotation marks. It doesn't have to necessarily be the literal devil, an actual figure. Although he does mean it that way, because he has the D in devil capitalized, so he's talking about a real actual Satan. But the devil can be something it's inside of you. Because you've got these two parts of you, the shadow and the persona, angel and the devil. You have it's all the same kind of an analogy. And if there's something in you, if you can't recognize the fact that you really are capable of terrible evil. I think it was last class, right? I was asking about the concentration camp. Was that in this class? No? Okay. Maybe it's my other classes, my 10th grade classes. But early in the first semester, I asked you guys to consider the question: if you were living in Nazi Germany, say you were living in 1930s Germany, do you think that you could have been a concentration camp guard? And that you would have been capable of doing the terrible things that those guards did? No. Many of us, our immediate answer is, nah, not me. If your immediate answer is no, I would suggest to you that you don't know yourself very well. I'm not saying that you certainly would have, but man, tens of thousands of people did it. And there was nothing uniquely evil about them. They were just people who were trying to get along, living in a society, in a place that was pushing them and expecting them to do that. Social pressure. And if the social pressure wasn't enough, of course there was the physical pressure as well. Well, if you don't do it, then we're going to throw you in a concentration camp along with your family. Okay, boss, what do you want me to do? And you'll find that after doing a little bit of evil, and a little bit of evil, and a little bit of evil, suddenly your conscience is seared, and it's much easier. One lie might be difficult to tell. Your 50th lie, way easier, man. So if you realize that you could have been a concentration camp guard and that you could have been capable of those things, and by the way, maybe you are one of the very rare people who would have stood up against it, but there were not many of those people, man. And the ones who did lost their lives, of course. So if you realize that you could have done it and that you could have been capable of it, now that should inform you to say, under the right conditions, I guess I am capable of murder. Under the right conditions, I guess I am capable of dishonesty. Under the right conditions, I guess I am capable of stealing. I would never steal anything. What if you were unemployed and you were starving? Would you be willing to do it then? Yeah, I guess so. So it isn't that you're incapable of it, it's that you need to avoid the conditions of it. And it doesn't have to be something extreme like murder or whatever, but just don't be in positions where you're capable of doing those things. Because once you realize, wow, I guess I could do this, now you have the opportunity to avoid it. And then hopefully at some point, those things become tests and not temptations. I have the opportunity to steal some money, but I'm not going to. Why? Because it will strengthen my ability to resist that thing, stealing. And so once you are fully aware of the devil that's inside of you, now you can be able to resist it. It's just like the monster in the closet. As soon as you recognize what the monster in the closet is, and once you recognize that that's a monster that's inside of you, now you understand that you have the ability to do harm, to do terrible harm actually, but you choose not to, which is virtue. As soon as you recognize that the devil is in you, but you choose not to succumb to temptation, and you choose to do the right thing, now you're virtuous. Now you're a good person. And now you can stand up to way more than you ever thought possible. The more you give into temptation, the easier it is to give into temptation. The harder it is to resist it. But if you resist the devil, he'll flee from you. If you resist the temptations, they will flee from you. But if you indulge in them, they're going to be all over the place, man. Constantly. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Tuesday? Ish?